Republicans have challenged you on this point on Capitol Hill, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond. They point to Border Patrol's own numbers, which show that going back to October of last year, there were more than 1 million apprehensions, but then there were also more than 530,000 gotaways. That's roughly the size of the population of the city of Baltimore. How can you say that the border is not open?
So we removed, returned, and expelled 1.4 million people last year. Ask those 1.4 million people if they think the border is open. Our apprehension rate at the border is consistent with the apprehension rate in prior years.
And then in El Paso, they've declared...
Thanks to the extraordinary work of the United States Border Patrol.
Thank you. And in El Paso, they've declared a state of emergency, but we've also seen this in other cities like New York and Chicago. I'm wondering, while so much of the focus is on the southern border itself, can you tell us more about the steps that DHS is taking to support those cities elsewhere, as this surge affects not just that geography, but other cities and states across the country?
I would say a number of things. Number one, we're grateful to Leader Schumer and Congress for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program funding in the omnibus this past December of $800 million. That's a significant increase over the prior year's funding of $150 million. We're working very closely with cities and communities along the border and in the interior of the United States. We need the system fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Back to the question of mass releases. I know you've pushed back against that, but the Florida Attorney General has filed a lawsuit against you, alleging that you are about to conduct a policy of mass releases with the news that was released yesterday. What's your response to that, and more broadly, what's your message to the judicial branch, who is playing a role in this process as well?
Well, I don't send messages to the judicial branch. The judges make the decisions that they believe are warranted under the facts and laws before them. But I will say this: it is interesting to see some of the tools that we employ that are successful or operationally needed to be challenged in the courts. So, for example, the parole process that we announced and implemented on January 5th for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. Immediately, that demonstrated a reduction in the number of those individuals arriving at our southern border of over 95%, and yet it's been challenged in a court. And so our parole authority, when we use it to release a fraction of the people whom we encounter, and that is challenged, I question the motives of the plaintiffs.